The final lecture on 8.2 actually is about coordinate geometry, and what coordinate geometry does is it connects geometry to algebra. So it makes this geometry to algebra connection. And we've looked already at coordinate geometry. So we've got this ordered pair x, y. Remember, it's going to also give me a point in our basic geometry which has no dimension, no size. We have a special point in a coordinate system, a Cartesian coordinate system, which is rectangular because it's a rectangular shape. Do we have circular ones? We do, and we call those polar coordinates. This little point right here has an ordered pair 0, 0. It's the origin where I begin. The distance between 2 points, what we're going to do is look at them in a coordinate system. Let's say I have point A, which is x1, y1. I have point B, which is x2, y2, and I want to know this length. And so if I want to know that length, if I remember a little bit about triangles, we have a special one that I can form here called a right triangle. And the distance here is y2 minus y1. The distance from here to here is x2 minus x1. Remember, x2 would be this entire distance too long. Take this little section off, and I've got x2 minus x1. Then we've got this thing called Pythagorean theorem that says a leg of a right triangle squared plus a leg of a right triangle squared equals the hypotenuse squared. The hypotenuse is opposite the right angle, so we would call this C, this A, this B. And so a squared, the length of a squared is x2 minus x1. Notice I'm going to square it. The length of the second leg, B going up and down, is y2 minus y1. Again, I'm going to square it, and that's equal to c squared. Oftentimes I want to know distance, and so I label this c as a d because this is the distance I'm looking for. And notice it's distance squared, so to undo a square, I must take a square root, and I'm only taking the positive piece of that square root because it's a distance. Midpoint is halfway between, and a midpoint says, okay, let's take the distance between x1 and x2 and divide it by 2. Do the same thing with the y coordinate, divide it by 2, and that would find me the halfway between point. Slope formula, the slope or slant of a line is, sometimes people remember it as rise over run, but we need a little bit of algebra, and so slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We call that letter m. Rises up and down, so it's the y. And what we must remember about slope, if I have parallel lines, the slope of these lines are the same. And if I have perpendicular lines, we have a special formula that's called the negative reciprocal. So we talked a little bit about that last quarter. We'll address any questions regarding parallel, perpendicular, slope formula, etc. in class. So that concludes section 8.2.